So, welcome everyone to the BWA Leader Series today, wherein we feature inspirational stories from across various entrepreneurial journeys from across the country. So, today we are very fortunate to have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Achal Chaudhary, the founder and president of Indore Professional Studies Academy. Mr. Chaudhary is the driving force behind introducing professional education in the private sector of central India. IPS Academy is a fully autonomous and premier institution and is one of the most sought after educational centers for students across India. Now, this educational institution sprawls across 60 acres with state of the art facilities in various fields to nurture and educate young minds to become responsible global citizens. So, without further ado, let me welcome Mr. Achal Chaudhary. Sir, a warm welcome to you to in the BW Leader Series discussion today.
Thank you.
So, sir, we have got a few questions for you, which we would like to ask you on behalf of our audience. And I'm sure that you have got a great history, and we would like to trace that journey right from the beginning with you through these questions. So, sir, the first question we would like to ask you today, sir, is that we understand that you were born and brought up in a very small town in MP near Ujjain, and you then went on to get a degree in architecture from IIT Kharagpur in 1973. So, if you could tell us about your background, the encouragement you received from your parents to pursue higher education, what were the challenges you faced when you started your degree in IIT Kharagpur, and considering that there were students from all walks of life that you met with from different backgrounds, what was the overall experience, sir? If you could throw some light on that.
Sure. One correction, it's not near Ujjain, but it's near Mandsaur, Gandhi Sagar Dam. The place is known as Rampura. The population then was 10,000, and right now also the population is only about 10,000. All credit of my career really goes to my parents, and that is what I request all the parents, let your children do what they want. The kind of culture they inculcated, the free hand they gave me, that made me actually do what all I could do. It's all due to them. And
That's wonderful.
I went to IIT Kharagpur way back in 1968, when the IIT name was not known to many of us, leave apart architecture. So selecting architecture at that time was really, I also surprised now why I had chosen that way, but I am very happy that I had chosen architecture in that time. And being a village, this thing, but all thanks and credit to my teachers that time, that they inculcated, they made me so wise that I could cope up with the challenges at IIT Kharagpur. The very first challenge was metropolitan place, people from all over India. So the only common language was English. So from a village to a place where you could speak only English, it was tough. But by grace of God, I could do it.
That's amazing. That's wonderful to hear that, sir. What was your experience like, dealing with the students from various parts of the country coming in, given different backgrounds that they possessed? How was it? How was it for you, especially, to come in terms with such people around you?
See, those times were different. At that time, really, there was no segregation. Ki, okay, here is a Sardar, here is a Mohammedan, here is a person from South. So we all matched well together. No discrimination was there. So very friendly atmosphere. So in real sense, it was a metropolitan atmosphere.
Right. So, sir, then after successfully getting your architecture degree and setting up your practice, I think it was ASK Consultants, you decided to change course and enter the field of education. Then by setting up this Indore public school in 1987. So if you could tell us, why did you make this shift in your career at that point of time, and what were the reasons that compelled you to start a public school in Indore, sir?
See, there are two different things. First, I'll tell you, people confuse architecture with only building designing. But actually, architect is one who designs the society. And you can design a society properly when you are into education. So that is one thing. I didn't change the profession, only extended it. From building designing to I went on to life designing, the career designing. That is one thing. And what provoked me to do so means got married in 79 and somewhere around 84 or so, when I was looking for a school, good school for my daughter's education. So came across, means I was very analytical, and that is one virtue given to me by IIT Kharagpur. Once you go there, so you become analytical. Before doing anything, you just examine the whole thing, you review the whole thing as to what all is there, how it is there. So that, because of that, I realized that there is acute shortage of good schools. All the schools were concentrating only on academics, no extracurricular activities. And these extracurricular activities, the sports activities, were available only in public schools, which were not available to public. So the thought came to our mind that why not make a public school which is really available to public. That's what gave birth to Indore Public School. That was in 1987.
Correct, correct, sir. So you basically wanted to make a public school that is accessible to everyone and just not created purely from a perspective of making a highly viable commercial endeavor, so to speak. So commercialization definitely is a consideration for every business initiative. But what I get the feeling from what you tell me is that it was more to get it accessible for the actual public, and hence the concept of public school is how it came into being for you, isn't it, sir?
Yeah, that is one thing, but I'll explain one thing here. Commercialization is not the main intention, but
Right.
charity cannot go on indefinitely. So even charitable institutes, be it a dharamshala or be it a school or be it a temple, any charitable institute has to be a self-sustaining. If it's not self-sustaining, it will die with time. So there has to be income source with all charitable institutes. So that is how we designed our fee structure and all that, so that it suits the parents' pocket also, and it keeps the institute running. And that's how we kept on growing that way.
So after setting up the IPS in 1987, of course, there was no looking back for you. In 1994, you set up the IPS Academy. Now, this campus, of course, is spread over, I think, 58, 60 acres of land with different colleges teaching 71 different courses, ranging from architecture, commerce, electronics, hotel management, tourism, journalism, whatnot. So the most amazing part is that it is an autonomous college with no government funding so far. So tell us, how do you do this? Like, how did you raise funds for setting up such a state-of-the-art academy with modern facilities in the first place?
See, the very first reason that I came to Indore in 75. Indore gave me lot of love, lot of status. Means what I can say in short is I am blessed with goddess Saraswati also and blessed with goddess Lakshmi also. So I was doing very well in the architecture field, that is building side. So thought, why not give something back to the Indore city, which gave me so much. So that's how we started. Then a lot of funding were done from self resources. Then it came into a self-running motion, this thing. And I got into that momentum. So the funds were, because our only aim was to uplift this institute to bring it to a very highest level. So everything we had was put into this. That's how actually we kept on building up the things.
That's wonderful to hear, sir. So, I mean, so while the world grappled with the pandemic and the young generation was very apprehensive about getting employment, IPS Academy, surprisingly, I think it successfully secured placement for students across 400 plus companies. So that is a stupendous achievement in the first place. So tell us, how did this happen, and what kind of skill sets do your students really possess once they pass out from the IPS Academy? We are really keen to understand a bit about that.
See, the basic credit goes to my team, Mr. Rajiv Shukla and his team. They procured 413 companies to take online interviews of the students. But ultimately, what happens is the grooming I got at IIT Kharagpur, that and the especially the architecture course, it opened up my vision. It broadened my vision. So we were always futuristic. So always thinking of the future as to what next, how we can do those kind of things. And in line that also, when we found that in the rural area there is acute shortage of higher education, we opened up two colleges in nearby rural area, and there was acute shortage of faculties. So there again what we did was we created virtual classrooms. So before the pandemic came in, we were already working online. Our lectures were delivered from main campus to these outdoor campuses. So we were already used to this online teaching. That is one thing. Secondly, any success without hurdles is no success. And basically, if you look at it this way, when water falls and it goes through various stones, it creates a very nice music. When you are walking also, and if a nala comes across, you take a leap. So these kind of hurdles actually you make you jump. So your progress becomes even faster. And that's how we handled this pandemic also. We took it as a blessing. And in real sense, it worked out as a blessing that otherwise technologically, India wouldn't have adopted these techniques in another 5-10 years. But because of pandemic, in only couple of months, people got used to it.
Yes.
So that's how actually hurdles, if you look at it in a correct sense, help you in growing faster.
Certainly. So, sir, I think one of the key initiatives that you have taken, as a part of your institution is, and which is very close to your heart. What I understand is providing quality education and access to students from remote and rural areas. Can you tell us a bit about this initiative, please?
See, unless the things are good, people want good education, people, everything means they want a brand. Brand doesn't mean that only a tag, but a quality this thing. And if you want to sustain anything for a very long, lifelong thing, then it has to be a quality based. And the kind of education I got, even at that small village and at IIT, it was a quality based, so couldn't compromise at a lesser thing. So I had to be a quality based this thing. And luckily I got teams like that, I got people like that who helped me.
Right. So, sir, your mantra when you set up the Indore Public School back in 1987 was care, capacity, and capability. So, coming, few years ahead in 1994, it became knowledge, skill, and value. And now, somewhere around 2020, you heard preaching this mantra of identity, ignite, and innovate. So, there has been a transformation in your business philosophy or mantra, so to speak. So tell us the secret of how you have managed to constantly change with the times. I mean, this is a pure testament that you're moving on with the times, ready to adopt. So what has been your approach to education to keep up with the global changes and standards?
When we started with the school, so it was actually dealing with the toddlers, the small kids. So that is where the care was required, the capacity to provide that care and the capability. So that time the mantra was care, capacity, capability. Went on growing. When we came to college, higher education level, it was knowledge, skill and values. Knowledge and skills can be provided by anyone, maybe little less or more. But it is the most important thing is the values. The world is recognizing, everyone talks about Indian ethos. Even in interviews, instead of attitude, the aptitude, instead of IQ, the EQ, emotional quotient is more important. That is what the companies also test. So ultimately, that is how we incorporated knowledge, skill, and values to it. Now this went along. Now this is the time when we see more and more into details. We find that we Indians, means if we look at the things in America or other part of the European areas, the Indians are controlling the things. They are using the products, it means provided by other persons very effectively. They do very well there. So where we were lacking is doing our own these things. We are capable, but we are not doing that. So that made me कि we must come up as a research institute, and that made me, and we all are doing that, कि identify which of the faculty, which of the student is having the spark. So that identify that spark, ignite. And once ignited, the innovation will automatically come. So now we are following the
Correct.
slogan, identify, ignite and innovate.
Innovate. Understood. So, sir, most of the education imparted in colleges are designed to make us better and more skillful workers at the end of the day. Uh, do you really think that colleges are doing enough to train our youth to become entrepreneurs? And in your opinion, what can be done at the university or maybe even at the school level to make students excited about becoming entrepreneurs?
See, it's a very debatable topic. People confuse becoming entrepreneur with skill developments. The aim of the college, the basic aim of the educational institute is provide the basic knowledge and how to use that knowledge for developing further new things, new items, that kind of thing. But normally people misjudge it with how a person is becoming employable with some industry. That is not the aim of the education. That is secondary, the skill provision. And normally what we see in Indian this thing is the child either is impressed or the imposed by his or her parents or the local forces. They understand the life only after they graduate. That is where they realize कि okay, this is not my field, I should have taken that or I should have taken that. So in that line, the new education policy means, thanks to our honorable Prime Minister, it is giving all those scopes, means you become a multifaceted person. So you can choose your career, you can change your career because you have those skills. So it is only with the entrepreneurship is that spark can get you. Instead of finding a job for yourself, you become a job provider.
Correct. Correct. So I think your philosophy matches very well with the government's mission of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I think that is very much in sync with that philosophy. What I understand listening to you, sir.
Yeah, means maybe a very small beginning, but the initiative Atmanirbhar Bharat will really end. Results are coming up. We are seeing that India is becoming a power. Previously, nobody was caring for us, but now, say, like if we look at the Russia and Ukraine war, means it's a great achievement that a clean passage is given. If you are having an Indian flag, nobody is going to shoot at you. That's wonderful. Hats off to our Prime Minister.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, sir, one question we would now like to ask you is that, IPS Academy, in terms of all its great initiatives that it has taken and the kind of support it provides to its students, what has why has it been stopped from getting a university acknowledgement so far? We are very surprised see that happening. So could you tell us that why has it not been recrestine into a university full-fledgedly, and what are you doing about it from the management side to get it the accreditation that it thoroughly deserves?
In a way, my last message takes care of it. That is, identify, ignite, and innovate. Basically, right from beginning means right from 1979-80, I was trying to do unique things. I brought in new concepts in architecture, in technology, and in planning. Then brought in new concept in education in 1987. The same way academy was started in 94. There also we went in for new courses. For example, we have one course like fire technology. It was nowhere in the AICT list, but being an architect, I knew the necessity. So we started that course. We started fine arts. So these kind of things, our initiatives are there. And similarly, we want to come up with a unique university, which is not just teaching the formal education the way it's being taught nowadays. So we are in that process. We are trying to build up that curriculum. We are having that kind of academic concept. So the moment we are ready with it, otherwise infrastructurally, land and building and other infrastructure, we were day one we had everything. So that is why we are holding ourselves back. So once we are fully prepared for that, geared up with some new fundamentals, new innovative ideas in the education field, we'll launch our university, and it'll be really worth doing that.
Certainly. So, sir, I think we have now come to the end of our discussion, and I think it has been really fascinating hearing you so far. Uh, uh, One last thing would like to ask you: what is your message for today's youth? What would you really like to tell them as a senior academician, just not as a senior academician though, but someone who has risen, risen in life at every level, the struggles that you have seen. So, what is your overall experience, and what is the message that you'd like to convey to today's youth, sir?
Like right in the beginning, I said, success without hurdles is no success. So, my message to the students is that there is no shortcut to success. You have to work hard, you have to spend sleepless nights, then only you can be a successful person. So, work hard, spend your time in a proper direction. Along with this, I would like to have one message for the parents. That is, one is when the children are toddlers, so let them enjoy their childhood. Don't stress, don't pressurize them. That is one thing. And secondly, if you will notice, when we are working, so majority of our time is spent at workplace. One side we talk about happy life, happiness, and second time we live a very stressful life while working. So if we are working in a place, working in a area of our choice, or what we love, if we are working on that, then we can have a happy life. So my request to the parents is, let your children do what area they choose. Let them enjoy life. Let them have a happy life.
Certainly. So thank you so much for this wonderful session today. Thank you for taking your precious time and joining us. We are really honored and enlightened to hear your thoughts, in terms of education in general. And we sincerely hope that you achieve all your, upcoming goals, which importantly, one of them is for IPS Academy to get the accreditation of a university very soon. And on behalf of Brickworks Analytics, we wish you and your team the very best in future, sir.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so
thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you so much.